Imagine facing a crisis so massive, it just completely halts your life's work. Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we are going to unpack an absolutely fascinating historical narrative from the book of Ezra, specifically chapter 6. We're going to see exactly how an insurmountable roadblock, a whole lot of ancient bureaucracy, and the concept of divine providence all collided in the most unexpected way. But right off the bat, before we get into the ancient history, I want to ask you a question. What if your biggest obstacle right now is actually your greatest advantage? We all face them, right? Roadblocks, stalled goals, those situations where it just feels like the opposition is way too strong. Keep that personal struggle in the back of your mind as we go through this, because the historical narrative we're about to explore, it shows exactly how a major roadblock literally paved the way for a massive success. The source text we're looking at today drops this really powerful spiritual thesis. It's this idea that divine plans are accomplished despite, and sometimes directly because of, hindrances. It argues that this grand providence uses even our adversaries for good, and that closed doors are often opened through unseen orchestration. It's honestly just a fascinating lens through which to view history. Okay, let's set the stage and take a look at the crisis at hand. The context is this. The Jewish community had finally returned from their long Babylonian exile. And naturally, the very first thing they wanted to do was rebuild their ruined temple in Jerusalem. So, they managed to lay the foundation, but almost immediately they run into severe opposition. It's like finally getting the zoning permits to build your absolute dream home, only for local rivals to force a total shutdown. And for years, that foundation just sat there, gathering dust. But, that tension didn't stay buried forever. Fast forward a bit, and two prophets, Haggai and Zechariah, step up and essentially tell the people, hey, it's time to get back to work. We need to restart this building process immediately. So the community rallies under the leadership of Zerubbabel and Jeshua, and they actually begin building again. But, as you might guess, this sudden burst of construction immediately catches the eye of the local authorities, and, boom, it sparks a brand new bureaucratic investigation. Enter Governor Tattenai. He was the Persian official governing the Trans-Euphrates region at the time. Now, it's really easy to assume he was just another malicious attacker trying to destroy the project, but historical texts actually show him acting as a highly neutral, by-the-book bureaucrat. He was basically the ancient equivalent of a city inspector showing up with a clipboard asking, do you guys have a permit for this? He then sends this very objective report back to the reigning king, Darius, simply asking him to check the royal archives and verify if this temple construction was ever legally authorized by a previous king. Now, to understand why tracking down this permit was such a massive headache, we gotta look at the political climate of the Persian Empire back then. The original decree allowing the Jews to rebuild was actually issued by King Cyrus about 15 years prior. But in that short 15-year gap, Persia went through incredible instability. I mean, we had Cyrus, then Cambyses II, a brief and totally chaotic stint by Bardia, and several coups before King Darius I finally took the throne and stabilized things. Because of all this ancient corporate turnover, Cyrus's original building decree was completely lost in the bureaucratic shuffle. So King Darius orders this massive, empire-wide search of the royal archives in Babylon to find this alleged 15-year-old decree. They scour the main archives, but they come up completely empty. Instead, and get this, the lost scroll is found tucked away in Ecbatana, way up in the province of Media. This was a northern royal summer palace. King Cyrus must have issued the decree while he was vacationing or retreating there during the summer. Finding it was an absolute stroke of luck. I mean, it's literally like finding a lost Supreme Court ruling hidden under a couch cushion in a ski lodge. And once Darius unrolls his recovered scroll, the details are honestly staggering. It wasn't just a simple note saying, yeah, go ahead and build. Cyrus had laid out exact, grandiose specifications. The decree ordered the temple to be 60 cubits high and 60 cubits wide, constructed with 3 layers of massive stones and 1 layer of new timber. The sheer scale of this authorized project was immense. And because Persian law was strictly irrevocable, this massively expensive blueprint was now 100% legally binding for the new king. But the decree didn't even stop at the architecture. Cyrus also demanded the complete restoration of the sacred artifacts. Years earlier, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar had totally looted the temple, stealing 5,400 gold and silver vessels. Cyrus's decree explicitly ordered that every single one of those stolen items be fully returned to their exact places inside the new temple in Jerusalem. It was a mandate for total restoration, top to bottom. Okay, so here is the ultimate twist, and it comes from exactly how King Darius reacts to finding this scroll. As a new king wanting to legitimize his rule, he decides to honor his predecessor's decree to the absolute letter. But then he goes a step further. Darius commands that the temple construction be fully funded by the royal treasury. And where is that money coming from? Directly out of the taxes of the Trans-Euphrates region, meaning the very adversaries who complained and tried to stop the building in the first place are now legally forced to pay for it with their own tax dollars. You seriously can't make this stuff up.
And Darius doesn't just fund the construction itself. He funds the ongoing daily operations, too. He commands the state to supply extravagant daily provisions. We're talking young bulls, rams, and lambs, along with wheat, salt, wine, and oil. All of this was to be given to the priests in Jerusalem daily, without fail. Why? Well, it was a classic quid pro quo. Darius wanted the Jewish people to offer sacrifices and pray for the life of the king and his sons. He wanted the blessing of their God upon the Persian royal family to help secure his own reign.
Now, just to make absolutely certain that nobody messed with this new setup, Darius issues a warning, and it is terrifying. He declares that if anyone tries to alter this decree or interfere with the temple's construction, a wooden beam is to be pulled directly from their own house, and they are to be impaled on it. And as if that wasn't enough, their house is to be reduced to a pile of rubble. It's an intensely graphic historical fact, for sure, but it really highlights just how fiercely the Persian Empire was suddenly protecting these Jewish builders.
The dramatic irony here is just incredible, right? The adversaries' original goal was to stop the temple construction permanently. They thought writing to the king would be the final nail in the coffin for this whole project. But the actual result? Their complaint triggered a search, which uncovered a lost royal decree, which resulted in a fully funded construction project, daily provisions, and fierce lethal protection by the king himself. Their attempt to destroy the project literally became the exact catalyst for its ultimate success.
What we're seeing here is a completely fascinating tapestry of history. Just think about the diverse secular figures involved in this. You have King Cyrus, who originally issued the decree just to stabilize his new empire. You have King Darius honoring it to secure his own political legitimacy after a string of coups. You have Governor Tatenai just doing his standard bureaucratic duty by sending a status report. And you have palace scribes who happened to file a scroll in a summer home in media years ago. None of these people were actively trying to serve the God of the Israelites, yet, according to the narrative of Ezra, they were all unknowingly woven together by providence to ensure the temple was rebuilt perfectly. Which brings us right back to you. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to challenge you to view your current crises through this historical lens. When your plans are suddenly halted, or when adversaries seem to have the upper hand, how might the obstacles in your path be the exact tools building your breakthrough? Perhaps your greatest hurdles are actually setting the stage for your ultimate success. It really makes you wonder, if an empire's forgotten paperwork can alter the course of history, what unseen forces might be working behind the scenes of your own stalled goals right now? I'll leave you to think on that.